in with a coffee being like, hi.
I call it latte, like a vanilla latte, because I had to stop for one. Yeah, well, because if anybody was at my panel last night, I was saying that I got in a car accident on my way to Rugrats, and I was like late and freaked out, and she was really nice to me, and she was like, you know, she was an old pro by then, because she'd been doing it since she was little, so she was like, come sit here, sweetheart. I'm gonna teach everything.
I wasn't 80.
No, she was really sweet to me because I was really freaked out. So, and then what happened after that?
We were the McNulty brothers.
Yes.
Did you guys see the Olympics?
Stupid baby. I didn't know I was gonna find a dead lizard. And I was just kind of like a little boy like this, one of the McNulty brothers, and then I played Reptar the one time that he talked.
Then we did what else?
What else happened, Tara?
Well, we started to read Fairly Odd. Yeah,
That's been 10 years,
and
yeah.
Danny Phantom, some Scooby.
Lots of coffee in between, lots of lunches. Yeah.
It's pretty scary to hear Reptar come out of you. I'll just say that for the record. I just had to close my eyes and not look. All right, hands.
Like a Saj Ventress.
No, stop it. Hands, save me. Somebody with a hand, for the love of God.
Somebody behind you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I can't. I don't have eyes in the back of my head.
Hi. Together, the two of you are my entire childhood, so I just wanted to say thank you. And Gray, Frankie Foster is the best thing ever.
Aww, it's the closest thing to my real voice. Blue! Oh my gosh, you're driving me crazy, Blue. Get over here.
Thank you both so much. I don't have any questions. I just wanted to thank you.
Thank you.
Good
I told
question.
them the story about how, I don't even know if you remember this, but when I got the part for Foster's and you got your part, we were all excited. And then I was on vacation in Hawaii and you called me and said, actually, you know what? They're gonna go to celebrities. They're gonna do a celebrity round of auditions. So, and I was like, what? Oh my God, that's horrible. And then she forgot to tell me she was joking until, she left a message and then I was trying to call her back and I couldn't get you for like 6 hours. So I was like freaking out for 6 hours. I was like, oh yeah, I was just kidding about that.
You, sir, the ears. You had your hand out behind you now. I'm over here. Hi. How you doing? Don't touch the mic. Haven't you ever been in my panels? Let's lean in. Let's lean in. Let's make this a moment. Let's scare all these people between us.
For Tara Strong, I'm sorry if this is unrelated. Well, I know it's unrelated, but can you please say it's hero time?
It's hero time as Raven or as...
Ben.
Oh, as Ben, I'm sorry. I'm right in the middle of doing Titans and I can't tell you, sorry, about why I said that, but... Go and hear it. It's hero time. Gwen, don't be such a dweeb.
Oh, there we go. Very good. Yes, you're learning. Yes, stand up. Question happens. This is all good. Oh my gosh, you're grabbing again. So grabby. Sunday morning grabbies.
Hey Tara, what was your most favorite, what was your favorite character that you'd like to voice for the most?
That I've ever done? My very number one favorite was doing the sequel to The Little Mermaid and singing with Jodie Benson, because I just don't know what little girl didn't want to be The Little Mermaid, so that was the closest thing. And like when I first met her, I burst into tears. She was like, "Are you okay?" And it was so surreal to sing with her. And then after that, that's always my first favorite because that was like my dream job, and then I couldn't possibly pick a second favorite. I love doing Twilight, I love doing Harley and Batgirl and Timmy and Powerpuff Girls. I've just been so lucky with all the characters, so I couldn't possibly pick a second favorite. Right? Yeah, I don't have a favorite.
Well, Azula's my favorite because she's just so evil and so cool, and I'm not very cool in real life, so I'm a goofball. Oh, I'm a total goofball, but which is cool. That's cool. But I'm doing this new fairy for the Tinkerbell movies. They're doing direct to DVD, and she's called Gliss, and I started just doing scratch. Like a lot of times we'll get hired to do scratch for those, and which is fine, and then they choose a celebrity, which is fine. I still made my money while I did my scratch. but I added in a lot of my personality while I was doing Scratch. I was just like adding in funny lines here and there, and so they said, great, we brought in some celebrities, but then we felt bad because they were kind of reading like your lines after stuff that you had actually come up with, and it was so your personality that we kind of felt bad, and we just were giving you the part. So I was like, wow. So that's, it hasn't come out yet, but it's called The Winter Woods, and it'll be out like in a couple months, and it's actually maybe at the end of this month, I think it's coming out. Anyway, so Azula's my absolute favorite ever because it was just such a great acting challenge, but this part of Gliss is like one of my second favorite, because I just feel like I put a lot into it. So yeah. But you are all banished later. The studio had this, like the booth was in one room, and then the control booth was in one room, and then you go to this like long hallway, all these turns to where you would stand to record with the microphone. And I was working on this video game, and the guy was just over-explaining. Like, I've got it all. Like, I read it beforehand. I know what I'm doing, and every line he was like, okay, so she started out on this long journey, and then she went over this mountain, and this warrior, just like a 15-minute thing, and then my line is like, stop, or something, and then the next line, okay, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, every time you start talking, I was like, oh no. Yes, I'm just like going on, and so then at the end they're like, hey, do you want to meet the director and everything and come back and say goodbye to everybody? I was like, yeah, absolutely. And I like pack up my stuff, and I go in there, and there's a video camera has been set up in the room that I was in, and there's like a monitor with like my empty microphone, like just like huge. I'm like, oh my God, they're watching me the whole time. Like, you couldn't see it. It was like this tiny little thing. But apparently he must have thought that I was just kidding or something every time he was talking, because he never was rude. He was really, really nice. He probably thought, oh, that crazy Rach is like. Anyway, so I'm usually caught. I'm the one that gets caught. Like, whenever everyone's talking about somebody, I'm the one that's still going, and then going, they're behind me, right?
I'm gonna lean over you, sir. It's easier to put it in his face for me.
Terry, your episode of Batman on Batman, Kevin Smith's podcast. It's a great podcast, great episode. You had mentioned that they're doing a new season of Fairly OddParents. Are y'all able to go into more detail on are y'all working on that right now?
Yeah, the reason we had to come in on the Red Eye is we do them on Fridays, and we just did together an episode this Friday, and the only spoiler I can tell you is that I get a magical dog named Sparky, and he's so hilarious. He's on, I don't know what character.
He's on Tough Puppy. He plays Snaptrap for Minnie Snaptrap, and his name is Matt, and he was an animator. He's so damn talented. He was an animator, and Disney was using him for all their Scratch, and he was just brilliant, and but he was doing it for free just because he was like there, and they're like, hey Matt, you're amazing, come in here and do these things. So yeah, it's so great.
And he adds so much comedy. It's like, whenever they talk about reviving or a pickup, they say we need something big. Like with Rugrats, they had Dill, or with Fairly OddParents, it was Poof, and then this season it's Sparky, and he's so funny. He really adds
He's got
a lot
like
to
a
the
Rick
show.
Moranis kind of voice.
So cute. Yeah, and I love doing that podcast. Kevin Smith's memory is scary. Like, I'm like, how do you retain all that information? So yeah, that's fun.
This is for Gray. I wanted to know if you could say the line that she uses as a pickup line about being really sharp.
Wait, who?
Azula.
Oh,
The pickup
gosh.
line that she uses.
If you tell me what it is, I will say it. It's been
Bust it, dude.
years.
I know the line, I just don't know it word for word.
I remember her saying, like, every time I like a boy, they think I'm going to do something terrible to them. Or something like that. Which I totally relate to. Just don't make me angry. If you remember it, I will totally do it.
For both of you, and Fairly OddParents, which are like your favorite fairies, like out of them all? Like what, Cosmo one, and Oregon, One Decent, all of them?
I like doing the Tooth Fairy because she's very, very.
I would have to say Cosmo makes me laugh every time Darren Norris opens up his mouth. And sometimes when we get the scripts in advance, I read it and I hear it in his voice, and I just have to laugh because he's so stupid. He's my favorite. I mean, literally everything he does makes me laugh. And he's one of those performers that's doing Cosmo and Dad and Jorgen back to back, and you're like, I don't know how that's not given out, because they're all screaming and high-pitched and low-pitched and crazy, and he's so talented, so he's amazing.
On Top Puppy, he does like all the villains and the chief, and he's amazing. Yeah, amazing, Darren. I feel like a dork now because you said like, what's your favorite fairy? I thought you meant like what favorite fairy that we voice, and I was like, well, what do I voice? I voice the Tooth Fairy. Now I feel like I said that my favorite fairy is like me. She's like, well, I like Cosmo. Oh yeah, like other fairies.
Way to be selfish, Gray. Way to be selfish.
My favorite things are about me.
No wonder you're not on Twitter. There's a hand right here, though. I'll get back to you. Don't worry. You can hit me later if I skip you. I'm sorry.
What advice would you give to someone that wanted to be a voice actor?
Well, I always tell people to start with acting lessons and singing lessons and improv classes because, people say, oh, I want to do that. It's just reading, right? And it's not. You're creating these characters and bringing them to life. And any acting training that you have when you're learning beats or how to improv, like Grace said, she got this role because she was, injecting some of her own funny stuff. And you have to be really confident when you get to that level. And then after you've done that, if you've got a local class where you can get behind a microphone and get some studio time, that's really great. And Gray and I are both in a DVD that I made a few years ago, actually 10 years ago. It's called Voice Stars with a Z.com, and you can pop it into your computer.
How did we make it before we were born? What? How did we make it before we were born?
Oh.
And then my best advice too is don't get out there and put out a CD until you're really ready.
Like, then they had to put my tape in. Oh yeah, I'm old.
And well, I haven't made a demo since it was taped.
It was like
But because you want to be really ready, because if you get that shot in the studio and you're too nervous or you're not ready, you might not get another chance. So you want to be. Also, to make it a good demo is about $1,000. So you want to make sure that you're really ready for that.
Yeah, and to be in plays, because I feel like theater is like, that's where I got my training, and I know Tara too, like it's because it's a place where you can be anything. You can be a little baby, you can be a dragon, you can be an old woman, you can, you don't have any limits, and it's all just, just nobody's judging you. Yeah, you're not in front of casting people, you're just kind of getting your chops done. And it really is acting, it's not doing a voice, because I've worked with people that are doing a voice, and it just does, it's very one-dimensional. People can't really embrace it, they can't relate to it because it's just, an impression. And some of the guys that have done Scooby, they're not actors. They would just like do a voice match for Scooby, and they would do maybe a little bit of work, and then pretty soon it was just like, it's just a voice. It's not, Anyway, also, yeah, don't take a class from a casting director until you're super good. Because some people, I've taken classes, like once I got all my training, I learned from another actor, Mary Kay Bergman. She was like my mentor, and then once I felt like she couldn't cast anything, but she could give me like lots of great advice. And then once I felt like I was ready and I wanted to meet people, it sucks that you kind of have to pay to, get in front of somebody, but I did like a casting director workshop and met like 6 casting directors, and after that it was just great, because if you're they think that you're brand new and you're just really good. It's like, no, I've been working at this for a long time to pretend like I'm really good right out of the gate. So but don't make your mistakes in front of casting directors, because then they're like, oh, you're that new person that's like really green and needs a lot of work, and they just can't get that out of their head. So yeah. And keep going. No matter how many people tell you, if you think you're really good, don't let people talk you out of it by saying it's a small world, there's no new people. There's this girl, Breezy. I don't know if anybody on the internet knows who she is. Breezy. Anyway, I don't know where she is. Where is she? She does like our voices, and she does this she's just, I think she's like 17, and she just makes these YouTube videos of her doing voices, and I'm actually gonna talk to my agent about, I posted her video on my Twitter feed, and I'm gonna talk to my agent about her, because she's really, really good, and she just keeps trying, and I'm just really proud of her for doing that, because honestly, 100 people a year will go, Gray, I really want to get into voiceover, what should I do? And I'm like, here's what you need to do. You need to, take classes, and you need to do this, and you should make it, you need to make a demo. And I swear, like maybe one person out of all those people puts the work in. They just kind of want, it's hard. And but if you really want it, there's room for talent, so.
If it's been a while since you voiced a character, do you ever forget that character's voice?
Yes.
If it's been a while. especially video games. Who asked me, I don't know if you're here, but in line they said, can you do Persea? And I forgot, like, video games, sometimes you forget because it's so much dialogue and then you move on to whatever series work you're doing. Typically, if you've been doing a show for a long time, that kind of sticks in your head, but
Yeah.
I don't know, to revisit
I did Wax on Friday, and I was like, what is that again? I mean, I just, it's been a long time since I've done her. So I was kind of doing her with more of an Irish accent. And he's like, no. And I was like, oh yeah, it's more of a Fargo kind of thing, right? And he's like, yeah.
The good news is they'll always play you what they call a voice reference, and they'll play it back for you so they can remind you.
I had to play Ice Queen before I left because I was like, what if somebody asked me to do the Ice Queen? I can't remember what it was, and I went and bought it on iTunes and watched the episode. I was like, oh yeah, I can't remember that. Anyway.
Back here with the captain. What was it like working with Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill in Arkham City?
Well, we didn't work together in Arkham City, but I worked with them on the Batman series, which was incredibly surreal to sit between the two of them. And I think Kevin Conroy is the best Batman there ever was, and Hamill's the best Joker there ever was. So to sit there, yeah. When it comes to superhero stuff, I'm a big fan of the darker stuff, and they're just both so believable in those roles. And so to be in that studio and watch them work was a huge honor. I think they're amazing.
Yeah, Mark.
This town are crazy!
Yeah, I'm not falling over all these people. I'm sorry. Sorry. There we go. Thank you.
For Tara, what was your favorite line to say as Timmy Turner?
Oh.
One line.
I have a new favorite line. Ready? It's hard to learn.
You haven't had one, so yes. Everybody needs to bring disguises and mustaches if you're gonna try to get me to pick you twice. You haven't come to me yet.
Tara, on Chowder, when you were doing when you were doing the car washing, was that just for show, or were you guys actually washing cars?
Voiceover pays crappy.
That episode cracked me up so much, and I always thought that it would be so funny. It's funny that they did that, because I always thought it would be so funny if in the middle of an episode, for whatever reason, and if you remember, it was because they ran out of money and they couldn't finish the episodes. It was a car at Cartoon Network, like it was someone that worked at Cartoon Network, and we just went out and filmed it, and I think we were washing it, but mostly I was just posing, which is weird. That was fun, though.
Honey, we got an order! How are we gonna finish the episode? Does my butt look big? Who's got gum?
You're the hot chick they were using to get people to go to the car wash. You know, there's always those like girls that stand there, they're like, car wash, and then some. Then you don't get those girls washing your car, is what I'm saying. Not that I've ever tried to get a hot chick to wash my car. I've gotten completely ripped off.
Hi, this one's for Gray, because I have just idolized you since childhood. Is there any way that I could have you just say something horribly sadistic in Azula's voice for Hannah?
I hope that